Friends, what's going on? How are you? It's your boy, James Robalata. So excited that you are here. Episode 3. No, episode 4. Gotcha. Episode 4 of Diner Talks with James. Tonight we have Justin Jones-Fosu as my guest. He's an incredible man with a great story, and I think you're really going to love him. But first, let's cue that theme song. I don't have a theme song. All right, we're gonna do that another time though, all right? But so let's kick it off, y'all. We're gonna kick it off the way we always do. We're gonna kick it off with the top three. But before we do that, I wanna know, where are you listening from right now? Where are you watching from? Tell me if you are in the building. Tell me where are you calling in from right now? Smash that heart button if you can hear me okay. Let me know that my volume is all right. Please, that's super helpful for me just to know that everything is going well. I'm super excited that you are here today and to get crack-a-lackin' on the show. So again, let me know where you are from in the comments so I can shout you out and show some love right back to you, and smash that heart button if my volume is okay for you on your end. All right, my friends, let us jump in to the top three. Oh, this is the show's budget Post-it notes. All right, y'all. Top three. First off, this first question is coming in from my boy, Jordan. What up, Jordan? How are you? He asked for the top 3 outdated technologies. Thanks for your suggestions, Jordan. I'm not using them, though. So here's the deal, y'all. Top three outdated technologies. First off, I miss computer class gaming. Do y'all remember going to computer class? That's an hysterical thing to say nowadays. But do you remember going to computer class? Did you ever go to computer class when maybe it's called typography or word processing or something like that? But you went to computer class and you learned how to type. You learned how to figure it all out. But then you also got to play games. Here's what I miss. Word Munchers. Y'all, that game slapped, okay? Word Munchers was banging. Also, shout out to, of course, Oregon Trail. I'm sorry about your ox, Bob. But these are the things that I miss for sure. Any y'all ever play Word Munchers? Any y'all ever do those kind of things? Play those kind of games? What computer games did you play when you were growing up? Let me know in the comments what some of your favorite games are that you no longer can play, or maybe you figured out a way. I think Oregon Trail has recently actually kind of come back and you can find it. But what are those games that you miss that you used to play in computer class when you were supposed to be working on your typing skills? Yes. Next. All right. Coming up. The top 3 unique food pairings. Top 3 unique food pairings. This is coming from my friend Jackie. Top 3 unique food pairings. Shout out to Laura coming in from Inglewood. Laura, I like your last name. I like your last name a lot. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you. So, top three. Next one is top 3 unique food pairings. So, first off, I love the taste of pretzels and apple juice together. Weird? Yes. True? Yes. I love the pairing of pretzel juice and apple juice. As a matter of fact, this is what I get on most planes when I can get pretzels on planes. But my plane drink of choice, a lot of people are doing ginger ale. What happens when you have to sneeze on a live stream? Do you just sneeze? How's that work? Can we get it to go away? What is the science here? Is there a doctor in the house? Okay. So everything's fine. So pretzels and apple juice. Apple juice is my number 1 plain drink. Whenever I drink the can, I drink it straight out of the can. I don't care how dirty the can is. Give me the whole can. Your little dippy plastic cup is not enough to satisfy me. And I love the taste of pretzels and apple juice together. At me, bro. Ever had pretzels and apple juice? Let me know in the comments. Next. This one's going to upset some of my Southern friends. But have you ever tried jam in your grits? Have you ever tried jam in your grits before? So this is the thing. I went to school in the South. I'm born and raised in New York. And I love it down there. I love being down in New York. That's my spot. I love going down and kicking it there. But here's the thing. I went to school in the South. I spent 7 years. Stacy, I also miss plain drinks, friend. I also miss plain drinks. But I went down to school in the South, and I got an education down there, okay? I went down to the South not loving country music. I came out of the South not loving country music. But I went down to the South not knowing what barbecue was, okay? So for me, what barbecue was a grill with charcoal, and you're doing burgers in the backyard for Memorial Day, right? That's what barbecue was. Now, I went down South, and I learned real quick. I got myself an education on what barbecue was. So what I learned is that barbecue is actually a big ass grill with a whole hog just going on the spit, and then you literally just go and pull the pig, a pig picking. That is what barbecue is. It is pulled pork, it's brisket, it is ribs, it is cornbread, and it is a slew of lovely sides. I also learned about Waffle House when I went down south. And first off, shout out to Waffle House. How do I get my all-star breakfast? I'm glad you asked. First off, I like my eggs smothered in cheese and chunked with ham. All right. Next, I like my eggs scrambled with cheese, and I do a waffle on the side. Shout out to that. So, but I always get the grits with the all-star breakfast too, because, you got to adapt to the culture that you're in. But the way that I got used to grits was by taking little jelly packets and putting them in, preferably mixed berry or strawberry. I put them in there, and that's how I now love to eat grits. At me, bro. If you're not down with that, that's totally fine. So, next. This is the last food quirk that I'm going to have. Some of you, there we go. See that? What in the world, jam? We got some Southerners that are upset, y'all. Dan failed. There you go. There you go. Elizabeth, you craved apple juice when you were pregnant. Now your son drinks it all the time. That's some good old-fashioned science right there. I'm here for that. I love it. Alex Dudek, I appreciate this comment right here. He learned to eat grits at Waffle House. Can you blame him? First off, come on, man. This is a kind show, all right? Let's be nice for the kids. So anyway, last food quirk that I have a lot of food quirks. The last weird food pairing that I do is that when I was younger, we used to have tuna fish on Friday nights. Tuna fish sandwiches on Friday nights. Don't ask me why. Pasta Thursdays, tuna fish Fridays, hot dog Saturdays. That was the schedule. You're going to miss with the schedule. We used to do tuna fish. Tuna fish was the only meal. Fridays and Saturdays were the only time where we were allowed to eat dinner as a family in front of the TV. We used to watch The Muppet Show. We used to watch Star Trek Next Generation. We used to watch all the classics. And by all the classics, I mean things my parents liked that they taught me about. What I would always make as a treat for myself is I would make what I would call a soda float. Here's what a soda float is. It is 2/3 milk, 1/3 Pepsi, not Coke. 1/3. We were a Pepsi household growing up. I've learned to appreciate Coke. Sprite is better than Sierra Mist. But the thing is that 1/3 Pepsi, 2/3 milk. We called it a soda float. Sometimes I would also dip my pretzels in that. Now we're getting disgusting, y'all. Top three. Last one. This is coming from my boy, Dan Fail. Dan Fail said, your top 3 mediums of paintings. Right now, my parents are dying laughing. The fact that I'm about to talk art is hysterical because my parents always tried to get me to go to art museums when I was growing up, and I hated them. If it wasn't an aquarium, I wasn't about that learning life, okay? Whatever town we were in, we would always try to, they would try to take me to different museums and stuff like that. I only wanted to learn about fish. If it wasn't fish, it wasn't a hit. So with that being said, the fact that I'm about to talk about art is hysterical. But needless to say, if we're also going to talk about art, we got to do it right, y'all. So here we go. It's not a raspberry beret, nor was it bought in a secondhand store, nor does it fit over my headphones. But alas, I'm fancy AF. So here we go. 3 types of art. I don't know anything about art. So these are my technical names for the top 3 meanings. First off, my third favorite type of art. Do you remember that kid in 7th grade who had really bad acne and you never wanted to stand too close to him? But then from a block away, you're like, hey, this kid's kind of handsome. I love that kind of art. I think Monet calls it Butterface Monet, right? I believe is what it was called. I think, maybe? I'm not sure. All right, that's fine. It's actually called pointillism, but don't worry about that. So, Butterface Monet, my first favorite kind of art. Third favorite kind of art. Next, I love textured oil peak painting. Now, what is that? When you look at a piece of art from the side and you can see where the oil has been like pulled off of it, so there's this cool texture to it and all these little peaks. I love that. I have no idea what that's called. If somebody knows what that's called, go ahead and throw in here. Thank you. I appreciate you, Alex Dudek. I do live in Minnesota and my color is purple, so shout out to Prince. But First off, I don't know what that is called. I don't know if anybody knows about that style. I think it's some sort of oil painting. Maybe it's just thick oil painting. That's probably thick with 2 C's. I'm sure that's what they thought of it back in the day. First favorite type of art, wee. Here we go. I like art that looks like what it's supposed to look like. As in, if you tell me it's a tree, I need it to look like a tree, all right? I don't like abstract art. I understand. Maybe my brain is just too narrow-minded for it. I can own that, friends. If you love abstract art, shout out to you. For me, abstract art is just someone who painted something but then nailed the title. They just nailed the title. Like, I wish I could be a painting namer, okay? Because I can't paint, but I can name the crap out of some paintings, y'all. But I think maybe it's called realism. I have no idea, but I love when a painting looks as close to a picture as possible. I'm just super impressed by that, y'all. Some of you are really insulted because you love art right now. Some of you are insulted because you love this beret. It's fine either way. That was top three. Let's jump into this episode, y'all. I'm really excited to introduce you to our guest. If any of you all like art, please tell me, what kind of art do you like? What kind of art do you like? What are some of these people? Throw some of those in the comments. Justin and I may talk a little bit about that, but let me get back to this introduction. Today's guest is the one and only Justin Jones-Fosu. If you have seen him speak, you remember it because his energy and his power of both the way that he acts on stage and of his words are super tangible, palpable, sticky. He's also had some really cool things happen in his life. He's got an amazing family. I've had the opportunity to meet them. His wife is currently chasing down a doctorate because she's a boss. I'm just so excited to talk to him, y'all. I think you're going to be pumped to meet him as well. Let's bring him in right here. Start that slow clap right now. Start that knee patting. My man, Justin Jones-Fosu. There he is, brother. There he is. What's up, man? I can't unmute you, but you're going to unmute yourself. I love it. Yo, look at this background you got, brother.
You know, every once in a while I can put together.
I'm here. This is very fancy. Very fancy.
I wanted to know, who are your 3 favorite black bald guys?
Who are my 3 favorite black bald guys? Great question. Definitely in no order. Not you. No.
I kind of figured that.
That's not true because, well, it's interesting because some are now bald but didn't used to be bald. So I'm trying to think of like where people are at right now in their baldness. I'll go Michael Jordan third because he's first in too many people's books. But I'm a Knicks fan. So I will never rank him first in anything. I don't care if he was the greatest player of all time.
John Starks for the dunk.
John Sparks, number 3, baby. Number 3. Next favorite bald guy. Next favorite black bald guy. This is a really fascinating question here, brother. Oh shoot, I can't remember his name. Extremely intelligent and brilliant news pundit. Who does all the stuff around the elections. Vance.
Yeah, Van. Yes. Van.
Yep. Shout out to Van. And then Justin Jones-Fosu. Justin Jones-Fosu, number 1 by far.
Hey, we all don't look alike, man.
You're right. That's why it took me so long. Thank you, Alex Dudek. That's why it took me so long, actually. Yeah. So nothing but compartmentalized racism here in Diner Talks with James.
That's what we do at the diner.
It is what we do, what people do at diners, for sure. Justin, here is a fun fact about you and I. We have slept in almost as many hotel rooms together as my wife and I have.
It's a very true fact. Very true fact.
Here's the thing about Justin Jones-Fosu is that he brings the energy and there's no ramp up. So like my dude, the last time we shared a hotel room was this past summer, correct? Mm-hmm. This past summer in Colorado. And my man, 5 a.m. the alarm goes off. Mind you, he went to bed at 3. 5 a.m. the alarm goes off. He's doing push-ups by 5:02. And Justin's one of those dudes. Okay. Justin's one of those guys. Like he's the reason why Planet Fitness has a lunk alarm in it. Okay, like, my man gets into his workouts. I love he does 50 push-ups and then immediately puts on the cha-cha slide. And before I know it, I'm outside of the bed and we're doing the cha-cha slide in our bedroom in our underwear, just doing some grown-ass man shit.
You're right. Slide to the left. Cha-cha, real smooth now. To the back. Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time. Two hops this time.
Freeze! Everybody clap your hands. Let's see what the delay sounds like. I don't want to trust that with the delay.
How low can you go? Can you go down low?
Look how low I can go.
You take it to the top.
This is what it looks like when I talk to my parents on FaceTime.
James. I can't hear you, James.
I love it. My parents are old Southern people. That's not true.
I like it.
Justin, how are you, brother? You are you're an exceptional speaker. You're exceptional speaker, and this has been a fascinating time for we speakers right now, right? Because we're used to being in front of large groups of individuals and making them laugh and making them think, and we don't get to do what we love to do right now, man. How are you doing?
Man, I remember, I think you and I have different kind of audiences. My large groups are 10 people. So like I've been those on my line. I'm like, oh, there's 10 people here, and you showed up because you thought somebody else was. But no, man, it's been intriguing, man. I've gone through a roller coaster of emotions, and it's still going on, man. I think I went through my self-imposed quarantining of 9 to 14 days of Netflix and HBO. Where I didn't do anything.
Respect.
Yeah, just because I was just so hurt and mad and sad and disappointed and frustrated at what was happening in society, what was happening to real people, but then also just what was happening to my business. And I think, for the first time, I've been able to learn how to effectively grieve and to learn what grieving means. And so I've been able to grieve. And I think this has been also the opportunity. Like, I think if this happened 4 years ago, Justin 4 years ago would have been like immediately like, hey, everybody, it's time for a comeback. It's time for you to conquer your fears, to go over, to overcome the barriers that are swamping you and dealing with all the. And I'm like, while there's absolutely some truth to that, there's also an opportunity and time just to grieve and to give ourselves grace. And so I think this a little bit, older, mature Justin has been give myself to say, hey, it sucks. And it's okay to say it sucks. And it's okay to feel that it sucks. And it's okay to grieve and to have grace. Actually, we need to, but that's been probably the biggest part. And now because I've done some of those things, I feel like I'm growing in a more meaningful way. So it's been tough. It's been hard trying to figure out how to be a homeschool parent. And like, even, today I'm having conversations with Stephanie of just like, we need to just disrupt this whole way that we've tried to do school. Because like what's happening is just not working. So anyway, so a lot of things up in the air. But one thing that I have been really appreciative of is just I've enjoyed creating, and it really brought me back to my own why. The heart of why I do what I do is helping people, man. And so that's been great for me. How's it been for you, bro?
I love that, man. That's powerful, dude. Yeah, it's been interesting. I think I love that term of a grieving, of mourning, and the emotions that go through it, because you're angry because you work so hard to build something and then it get ripped away from you. And it's like, especially as entrepreneurs, we didn't work our butts off to almost get what we want, right? We haven't built the relationships. Like, you know what I mean? That would be like, it's the equivalent to me is like all of a sudden a chef who learned how to make all these incredible things and built this restaurant. The restaurant's going great. And now all they can do is like, all they're doing is like chicken and rice as a takeout, right?
Yeah.
Or all they're doing is fried mozzarella sticks, right? Or something like that. Yeah. It's like, but I can do so much more.
Right.
And so that's been hard for sure. I think for Tina and I, it's also interesting. I don't know, for Stephanie and you, we've gone through this in different ways. And it's hit us in different times. Like I think Tina was hit pretty hard early on. And meanwhile, like last week I kind of had a moment where I was like, how long is this going to go? Like, what are we doing here? Like, can we do this? And so it's just interesting the way, like, no one goes through the steps of grieving, of mourning in the same order. And so, I think that's been interesting, dude. And I love what you talked about, where you said, we're trying to figure out this co-parenting. We have to disrupt each other. Thank you, Jordan. I'm glad you love some mozzarella sticks.
All right, Jordan.
I do too. For the record, you don't get the sexy not eating mozzarella sticks. So
I love James.
Boom.
And Tina, we can get you this video. So yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. We'll get them. Okay. Excellent. But you talked a little bit about how you have to disrupt the way that you're parenting. This whole situation has been a disruption.
Yeah.
And a lot of people needed a disruption.
Yeah.
Right. Like, how many people out there are like, you're really missing that job that you hated. Right. Like, a lot of people needed a little bit of a disruption. The way that you handle that disruption is up to you.
Right.
But to acknowledge that this is a cool moment is important as well. You can mourn and also be excited. You can mourn and also look forward. It's an interesting thing. We humans are complicated. But how are you and Stephanie dealing with that? Because I know she's right in the middle of her doctoral program right now. So she's still got classes and stuff like that too. What's going on there?
Yeah, so we've actually gotten it down to a science, and it's just we did a lot of research on this. I stay out her way. So that's no, like she's been super focused in getting her comps done and getting a proposal for her dissertation done, which fortunately passed and is able to move forward to write a dissertation. And we operate really on different schedules. So I'm passing nights in the wind. Because I'm the morning person. So like I'm normally up with the kids.
I know.
Yeah, right. I'm normally up with the kids. We're working out. We're doing a workout video. We're getting Peter and then Lydia ready for school, and then now daycare. It's kind of open back up, and so like, and I'm normally like locked in till 12 with Lydia in terms of, all right, what are you doing for school? Are you on the right thing? Are you on iReady? Are you doing your Mandarin work? All that kind of stuff, and then. Stephanie would come like pick in and jump in at like 12. And so, but she's like up till like 1 or 2 in the morning, like getting work done and stuff done. And I'm knocked out. So it's, figuring it out, man. And I mean, even today we just had a conversation, as I mentioned, just like I saw a great article on a news outlet. So just like, how a lot of students are distancing from distance learning. Mm-hmm. And just, as time has gone on, that they've been further for this. So I'm like, we have to disrupt what we've been doing. We try to go into it like, all right, from 9:30 to 3 o'clock is school time. And this is what you do during this blocks, but we're rethinking that. I'm like, all right, how are we putting in more creative things? And also I learned, and I want to do a video on this at some point, man, but I learned a great leadership thought of this, of like, I went and I do what most leaders did, or I've thought about doing what most leaders do. And I was like, all right, Stephanie, you and I need to figure out how do we create the best schedule for Lydia? And I was like, why am I not asking Lydia? Like, why don't I talk to Lydia and ask her, what are some things, how does she think her schedule could look? How does she think her energy is? Like, what are some things that we got to work with her, because she'd probably put Mandarin cartoons from 9 to 3, right? But like just in bringing her in. So anyway, it's been tough. We're still figuring it out. We're not perfect. We're, I'm sure a lot of the great people are doing and killing the game, but it's little by little. But I've learned, and I don't know if you and Tina have done this, but I've learned to give myself grace, and even more so, I'm learning to give grace to others. Because we're all really, I've apologized to Lydia a lot because I've yelled at her. I've gone off on her, and a lot of it's just been because of the trauma and the short fuse that I've had, and I've had a lack of patience that I've had to apologize to her. And I was like, I told you I'd never tell you to shut up, and I'm sorry I did that. And and then when I do it again, she's like, Daddy, you said you wouldn't do it again. And I'm like, I didn't say I was going to do it again. I said I was going to try not to, right? I'm
listening to my words.
Do better, right? Now shut up. No, but no, just I've done little things like for you, like what's been like, everybody's on this, positive tip, which is great. What's probably been the biggest challenge for you and Tina during this time, man?
Yeah, I think actually it's funny. I was just going to say, I think you hit the nail on the head for me. Fortunately, I haven't told Tina to shut up yet because that would not end well for me.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, no, this would be this would be cemetery talks with James.
Yeah,
and I would deserve it. But for me, it's also I've been more, and I pulled her aside and we had this conversation recently. We try to go on walks every day, just to have some intentional time together. It's a privilege that we have without kids. Is that I told her, I was like, hey, I just want to point something out that like I'm a little sensitive right now. And I'm a little more sensitive than I normally am. I mean, I'm normally a sensitive dude, right? Like,
yes.
But it's even more so now. So the times where you make a joke that would normally roll off my back, or normally I'd like come right back at you, be like, oh, we playing ping pong now.
Right.
Instead it's like, like it just like hits me.
Yeah.
Or I'm just a little less patient with her. Where, it's just like, I'm not giving her the benefit of the doubt as much. And that's been an interesting thing because I think right now for me, it's like, I can't control anything.
Yeah.
And so in the midst of not being able to control anything, I'm just grasping for little things of just like, let me hold on to that. Let me hold on to that piece of pride. Let me hold on to that little piece of success or that whatever, because I don't think I'm doing what I need to do for my family right now. And that hurts.
Yeah.
It's been complicated for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Why you gotta go and make everything so complicated? Dun, 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 dun. I'm sorry, I think in songs, so this is what I would do at the diner. I'd be singing right now.
When you fall and you crack, yeah, exactly. We put the quarters in the machine. We play that junk on repeat. We'd Rick roll the diner with Avril Lavigne.
Okay. I don't know if she's in the diner, but it's okay.
Okay, that's fair. Justin, here's what I want to talk to you about, brother. So here's my question for you, man. You had a really cool experience. A couple of years ago. Or maybe, I don't know, it was a year and a half or whatnot, but you are, your family, I don't know if you are fully Ghanaian. Are you?
Hey. That sounded like a cue. Sorry, that wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, throw the hooks up.
Not at all.
So
I am Ghanaian American.
Ghanaian American. Okay,
yes.
Perfect. So now you went back for the first time in a very long time, or I mean, tell us a little bit about what was it like going back there for the first time? Because you mentioned to me afterwards that you came back thoroughly changed. Like you said that, you identify as Ghanaian American, but in previous conversations, if you were going to like write those out, the American would be way bigger font than the Ghanaian. Yeah. But now that's changed for you, man. Tell us a little bit about that trip and what happened, because it was just so profound for you.
Yeah, man. So this was like my fourth time, but it was my rebirth moment, because this is like really the first time I've gone as a thinking adult, I guess I put it that way. I think the last time I went was like 14 years ago, so I was like 24, and my dad still paid for that, which is why I hadn't been in 14 years, because my dad said he wasn't paying anymore. So I was like, cool, all right. And so this last time I paid to go, and took the family and took the kids, and for me, it was transformational in a lot of different ways. One, I initially went to go and just, we talked about this before, but just to confront my dad. So for those who know my story, my dad wasn't an active force in my life from a presence perspective. He did a little bit financially through my mom, but like wasn't there. There'd be periods where I didn't see him for like 3 years. And so I went to go confront him. Like, I don't know if you saw the scene on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's one of the top 3 shows. Hey. But like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it's like he got to that point, and everybody always talks about, if you've never seen it, you probably can Google, why doesn't he love me? And they talked about how that scene was unscripted. How he like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, where he, started crying and like fell into the arms of Uncle Phil. And he was talking about his dad who was trying to put on this front, like, I'm good, I got it all together. But then he was like, he just broke down, like, why doesn't he love me? Or why doesn't he want me? Right. And so I felt that for a lot of my years and growing up. And so I was like, I finally was just starting like, all right, I'm going to talk to him like, yo, why weren't you there? We've never had that conversation. And so I was going to go confront him, let him know who I am. I'm friends with James, like all that kind of stuff, man. And he was like, who's James? But I went. And before I left, through counseling and through conversations with some really cool people, I changed from going to confront him to going to hear his story. And when going and taking the time to not go like, yo, why weren't you there? And this is what I went through. I took the time just to hear his story and what was like for him and what was his life growing up. And, what was his journey like as relates to me and my mom and different things like that. They divorced when I was 4. And so it was helpful. Right. And so I think that experience, what I didn't realize is it opened up something deep for me. And I didn't realize I was holding off this aspect of my Ghanaian heritage because I was holding off him. And when I forgave him, it like a flood of just that aspect of who I am came in. Like I always knew I was Ghanaian American, but you asked me, I would never tell you that. I'd say I'm an African American who's also from Ghana. But now, I represent as a Ghanaian American and have embraced that aspect of me. And so that was transformative in that way. So it was relationally transformative, but it was also just consciously transformative. And it's been great, man. And so like, yeah, that was one of those moments that I was like, man, no matter how old we get, there is a power of forgiveness. And, one thing I think that many of us who have been hurt by people, a lot of times we want to confront them, but sometimes, I'm not saying we shouldn't, but, it may be helpful just to go and hear people's stories because we may actually have more grace for them and have a better understanding of what happened and why they did what they did.
Mm-hmm. Man. Such a powerful moment, brother. And I remember, I saw you, was it the week after you got back or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. You came in with all of a sudden, Justin had one of the fiercest bow tie games, like seersucker, bow tie, strong out here, and the way that he looked. And all of a sudden he came in with a whole new garb, right? Your whole outfit's changed. And like there was this immediate sense of this beautiful pride. And it was so cool to hear you talk about it, man. You always talk with energy, but the passion in which you discussed this experience for you was so profound. But I want to go back to something you said, because you glanced over it and you're like, hey, I went to counseling and then, yada, yada, yada. I wasn't going to confront him. I was going to ask questions. So anyway, so I went to Ghana. Right? And you did it with that same accent too. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. You need to work on your black accents. Or would that be cultural appropriation? Maybe, I don't know. Right.
I don't know. I'm already white and do freestyle rapping, so here we go. And I do have a great black accent. I just am not allowed to do it. But anyway, this is again going well. So yeah, Casey, I agree, brother. We were just sitting together at a diner. It was a steakhouse, but yeah, right, for sure, brother.
Close to a diner.
Close enough. But let's go back to this point, man, because you decided to make the pivot from I'm going to confront them to I'm going to be curious about them.
Yeah.
That's not an easy switch to make, especially with years of earned frustration. With years of earned, potentially, you had a right to confront them head on, right? Yeah. But the switch to compassion, or the switch to potential compassion, because I'm sure if his answer was garbage, maybe you would have come with something else. But the fact that you approached him from a place of curiosity, authentic curiosity, not judgmental curiosity, of like, well, let me just see what you're gonna say, right? Like, how did you decide to make that switch? And I mean, that couldn't have been one counseling session where you're like, oh, okay, I'll give that a shot. All right, my flight's in a few hours. Thanks, Doc. How was that? How did you make that switch, man?
No, man, it's it took a lot of time, a lot of conversations with guys in my recovery group. It took a lot of time with my Leadership Charlotte peeps, and just being open and crying about it and talking about it, and engaging and hearing people's perspective of like people challenging me, like, and me being mad at them challenging me, like, me saying like, yeah, I'm going to confront them. They were like, but have you ever heard how, like, his story, and I don't need to hear his story. He wasn't there for me. Like, and it took those kinds of people, some of the challengers. And, one of the things, I often talk about in our lives, that we need two different types of people. We need both cheerleaders and challengers. If you can have them in the same person, that's dope. But, I had some challenges. I was like, have you heard his story? Like, people go through things, and, a lot of things that happen, and it's just, I didn't want to hear that stuff, but it was super helpful because it really encouraged and pushed me to be like, well, let me really be curious to see what he has to say. And so it took a lot of time. It took probably I talked about it at my Leadership Charlotte retreat, our opening retreat in like August. And I probably made the decision. I talked about confronting him, and I probably made a decision probably about April, to that shifted to being curious and to kind of hearing his perspective. And so, there was no magic bullet. It took people, one part of my crew willing to challenge me on it, and two, people sharing and hearing other people's perspectives of their version or things that they've done wrong, or haven't been there for people, and how it wasn't necessarily just completely cut and dry. And so it allowed me to kind of step outside myself and ask, like, what was his journey, and am I able to hear that? And so while there's still things in the story that he shared that I disagree with and wish he would have made different decisions, absolutely, it did allow me a greater aspect of giving him grace through the midst of it. And I think we have a better relationship now because of it.
Yeah. Because I would assume that since you approached it that way, and almost like you let him speak first, right? Yeah. Since you did that, when it came time for you to talk about, like, this is what it looked like from my end. Here's what it felt like from my perspective. When it switched to you being able to talk, he heard it differently as well, I would assume.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I mean, he seemed to take it well, but like I just took time to hear his view, and then I was able to address things from his view. Yeah. And to kind of ask deeper. Like, one of the big things that I often talk about in this whole conversation of diversity and inclusion that I had to challenge myself to ask is the 3 powerful words of "tell me more." And so I practiced that a lot. I was like, "Tell me more," right? And so, but when it came time for me to jump in and to really kind of engage and say, like, I wish you would have done this differently, or ask deeper questions like, why didn't you do this, or what happened here, or this is how I felt, or this is what I believe happened. He was able to either address it, but just the fact that he was able to go to share his story, I think, allowed him to hear what I said differently. And I think, in our country that's so divided right now, and with so many different things, from everything, right? It's, allowing people to share their story and where they came to or how they got to this, is super beneficial to be able to share your perspective and your view. And so, I had to practice the stuff that I teach others. So it was tough.
Which
it was
sucks.
tough though.
Doesn't it suck
Yeah,
when you
it
have a really
sucks,
good
man.
idea that other people should do?
I'm like, man, what I got to do that? I got to actually listen to other people first before I talk.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm wondering, for those of you that are listening, I want you to write the name of someone who you need to forgive. And I'm just kidding. No. What I'd love for you to do is, if you're thinking about, I'm curious if there's someone that you're thinking about right now that you've held off having a conversation with, or maybe that you could approach a conversation that you really want to have with somebody. If this is resonating with you, do me a favor, just smash that heart button. Just smash that heart button just so we could feel not so alone in this conversation if this is resonating with you. And so, because here's the thing, Justin, is that I've often thought about this as well. And when my previous marriage ended, whenever I would tell somebody about what happened, and not even with details of what happened, even just like we got a divorce and it was my fault, and stuff like that, I would share the story with people because I wanted them to come at me, because that's what I thought I deserved, right? I wanted people to be like, wow, I never thought you'd be like that, bro. You suck. I thought you were like this. You're like that? Oh, hell no. And that's what I always expected people would do. But that never happened. Maybe there was probably like one or two people who understandably, maybe one not as understandably, came at me. But 98% of the people that I was vulnerable with during that time in my life, they really, they approached it with a curiosity. They approached it with a tell me more. They approached it with I've known you for too long. I know you're a good person. And so I know that this whole story doesn't now change the way that I look at you. So it's incredible to me that you found grace in that moment. Because now when you go back to Ghana, and you've gone back a number of times, you've brought some friends over with you. I know you're doing some really cool enterprise opportunities over there as well. Feel free to talk about those if you want, man. But you also go back and see your father, and spend time with him, right?
Yeah, man. It was just the fact of being able to go, and like this last time I went, I took some speakers with me. And part of that time, my dad and I, we went, which sounds really weird to say. Like some people, they and their dads, they go like hiking and go on camping trips and, make food together and stuff like that. Me and my dad, we went and did work at the mall. So that was our bonding time, right? But that worked for us. Like we went, we had some coffee. Like, yeah, this is where I normally go. So I was like on the journey with him to what he normally does. I still have my things. My dad's a workaholic. I'm trying not to be. And so but that was our bonding time. That was really cool. Like we took that time just to be able to go out and talked on the car ride, and got some stuff done, laughed and joked, and then we kind of came back. And so it's improved the relationship, and even recently he gave me a call, maybe even the conversation we had lifted the burden from him, right? Because a lot of times you see, I don't know if you recently saw the Rodman documentary, or the Rodman 30 for 30 for ESPN. I just recently saw it, and one of the things he has is this. He talks about this but this thing he has between him and his mom, and he feels so bad for all the things he's done to his mom. If I could paraphrase, but because he feels so bad, he doesn't want to engage her because he doesn't want to deal with feeling bad.
Sure, he avoids it.
He avoids it, right? And so I wonder in some ways, because my dad called me recently and just was just checking in. And I was like, what? Who is this? And what have you done with him? Right. And that was my black accent.
Oh, okay, it was really,
so I
think it was really good.
Thank you. I
that was a really good black accent.
Thank you. But no, it was just, I may have lifted a weight off of him and our conversation from this past summer, and for him just to call and check and, say things like, I'm proud of you. that I'd never heard him say before, and like, you know, stuff like that. So it's intriguing, an intriguing journey. Like what's been the toughest way? Because I know you're a dude of compassion and leading with authenticity. Like what's been the toughest kind of hearing somebody else's story when somebody's wronged you that you've had to encounter or gone through?
Great question. I don't know. I've had a couple of people like that, but I haven't been in that situation many times. And my family has been really solid. My parents have been together for this is actually their 50th year of marriage, which is really cool. That's no joke.
Wow, that's dope.
Big deal. But yeah, so I think it is. I don't have as many of these stories because I'm just so great, you know? So,
that's what Laura told me.
I mean, that's pretty much
She was
it,
like,
yeah.
James is pretty great. And I was like, all right, Laura. Okay, Laura. Sorry, Miss Laura. Sorry.
Miss Laura Lavender. So, shout out to Laura Lavender. But I think for me, what it's been is there have been some friends that I pour a ton into. As a friend, I'm a giver. I'm the caller. I am the check-in. I'm the follow-up. That's who I am. And I don't ask for that in return. But I do now ask for people not to take advantage of it and not to take advantage of me. And so I had a friend of mine who was super close. We had known each other since graduate school, and we were super tight. We'd been romantically involved as friends a couple of times as well, but it was never anything more than that. And that was communicated as well. This isn't just my side of the story.
Sure, James.
But, right. But she got into a relationship with an individual who wound up being fairly verbally abusive and controlling. And so in trying to help her out of that situation, she completely wrote me off and blocked me and stopped answering all the calls. And just when I was even trying to check in on her, to the point where I was like, I messaged her friend. I was like, yo, is this woman even still alive? Like, 'cause she's with this jerk. And then afterwards, she tried to come back like everything was like hunky dory, and like we're just gonna be right back in there. And there was some grace for sure of like, hey, you were in a crappy situation. Just because you didn't do what I said you should do doesn't mean that we can't be friends. But it was the way that she then approached it, and it was one of those things where I was like, listen, you've never really been an exceptional friend to me. It's always been something where I've done a lot of giving and you've done a lot of taking, and I'm grateful that I've been able to help you through some tough times. But at some point in time, your selfishness is not working in the long term for our friendship. And I haven't had many friends that I've had to have a conversation like that with, but that was a really important one.
Wow, that's man, that sounds like super courageous, bro. Like to be for real, like, I mean, those are tough. I mean, having those really tough conversations, especially when somebody's going through their own trauma, right? It's almost like, you know, because like even right now, there's a hesitancy for me to address things with people because I know the trauma that people are going through. And so the fact that, you know, that you're able to be courageous and gracious in the same space, even in the stuff that she was going through, is like, it's super dope on you, man. That's dope, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I get a gold star from it, but I do. But I mean, I tried to mend the relationship afterwards. It just wasn't there. So it is what it is. At some point in time, I mean, as we get older, we get pickier. As we get older, we get more selfish about time because we recognize that it's finite. So who do we give it to? How are we going to pass it out? I think that's something that happens as we get older, and there's nothing wrong with that. But and
it's fair. Like, you know, like this is something I came up with in my time at school of just like, I called it like the ABCs of kind of relationships. So I designed this or created this for relationships specifically, but I can see it in friends, right? It's like, you know, imagine you talking to somebody, getting to know them, and they're your A person. You're like, they're your A spoon cool. You like, yes, like you my person, right? And they're like, you're my C person. Well, I'll see you when I see you, right? It's like you skip the B, right? Like, and you're treating them like an A person, and so you're getting frustrated and disappointed because they're your A, and they're getting overwhelmed and overburdened because you're their C, right? And so I was like, either one or two things has to happen. Either you eventually see me as A, I lower my expectations and only now see you as C, or it's just going to be too much friction and it's not going to work. And so it's like, the getting the right match, of like, hey, this is my B person, right? And this is cool, right? But that same thing applies, I think, to our friendships and relationships. Is like, I call it the 80-20 rule, right? I created it, right? Here, whatever. Okay, so I created the 80-20 rule.
Pending. Yeah.
Look at me, right? But the 80-20 rule, I started asking, like, I was using that in business, and I was like, great business concept. But I started asking the questions, like, what does that look like in my own personal life? Because I was the kind of person, because I am an extrovert and get my energy from people, that I would spend 80% of my time with 80% of the people in my life and 20% of my time with, the top 20% of people in my life. And I was like, what if I flip that? What if I started spending 80% of my time and investing in the top 20% of the people in my life, and have 20% of time for the other 80, right? And so, like, I'm not, listening to no new friends, no new, right? But at the same time, I'm able to invest in the people who've been there, who are challenged me, and it's no hard feelings when people are part of the 80%. It's like it's like you got your top 22. Like, all of us ask, like, who's on your favorites list, right? Who's on the speed dial on your phone? Right? Who can get through? This is the thing for the iPhone people. Who can get through when your phone is on DND? That's the true jump right there, right? It's like, who's on your D&D list? That's the outdated technology we need to talk about. But yeah, so like that aspect of friendship has been important, and to not necessarily get offended that I'm not somebody's A person, which I used to. I used to want to be everybody's A person because that's just my personality and my pride. And but I've had to grow. I've had to evolve. And so, how have you done? I'm really curious to know for you, because you are a person who, it appears, gets great energy from people. I know you hate doing comedy, and you hate speaking, and you hate beards and bow ties and everything. But like, but how have you navigated the space where your friends, there may be a misalignment in your friendship outside of that person, right? Like, and there's nothing bad has happened, but it's just a misalignment in your friendship of like, they're either treating you like you're the best friend in the world, and you're like, or, you're treating them like they're the best slice of fresh bread from Ghana. And they're like, I'll use you when I use you. Like, how have you navigated that, bro?
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's definitely hard because I have a deep fear of people not liking me. And it's my Achilles heel, I would say, because it causes me to accommodate a lot. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, man. When you just talk about the 80-20 rule, I'm over here thinking, like, who do I give? I think I give 80% of my time to 80% of the people still, right? Again, that is an extroverted quality for sure.
Yeah.
Introverts are way better at that.
They are.
But still, it is interesting especially because I'm attracted to the new, right? I'm attracted. Oh, you're a new friend. Oh, you're a new contact. When we hanging out, what was going on? Was that
right?
Right? Like, and I want to spend that time. I really want to spend that time with people. And so this is an area where I struggle, for sure. And I don't think I would love to get a little bit more what I believe would be positively selfish about it.
I like that.
Right? A little bit of selfish positivity, or positively selfish, I should say, because I think it would take some pressure off of me, because what I also do is I wear it on my sleeve when nobody else reaches out to me. I wear it on my sleeve that, like, man, I'm the only person who calls and whatnot. Like, even in my family, I'm the caller more often than not. That's changed a little bit here in quarantine, but it's also how I've trained my friends. Because we have to
Yeah.
think about that, right? Like
That's good,
That's
bruh.
the pattern that we've trained our friends. Is like, I'm gonna call you.
Yeah.
Right. And like I have a buddy of mine who back when we used to drive, and I mean, you know this, you're driving 3 or 4 hours between Kansas and Nebraska to do 2 gigs. And by 3 or 4 hours, I mean 6 or 7. And but you know, that's when I get a lot of my phone calls done.
Right.
And I had a buddy who would always be like, "What are you in the car again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am in the car. Are you ever in the car? Because you sure as hell never call me." Like, don't hit me with this, "Oh, you in the car, so you call me?" Like, yeah, bro, you ever been in a car before?
Right.
Because my call list says nah.
Right.
So, but we train our friends, we train our families also for how we like to be communicated with.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to recognize that. That doesn't mean that it's all our fault, but it does mean that, I mean, I had to have a conversation with my parents where I was like, "Listen, I would really appreciate it if you called me every once in a while."
Yeah.
And just because it's just nice to be thought of.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a conversation that I had to have where it's like, here's how it makes me feel. And I had to totally I statement it just to keep it lame.
Right.
But to ideally trying to not get feelings hurt. But yeah, so that's what I would say to that, brother.
And that's a tough one, man, because you know you said it perfectly, just in terms of training people certain ways. And I've realized there's several things I've done wrong in training people. Like one of the things that I've tried to do a better job of keeping out of my vocabulary is the word busy. Right. Because like I've learned a lot of people have said, like, "I just thought you were too busy," or "I thought you were busy," or "I thought you had something going on," or "I thought you," and I'm like, "Oh, why'd you think that?" And I'm like, "Cause every time they hit you up, "Oh, yo, I'm just really busy and I got a lot." and then people, I'm like, "But why did you invite me to something? I just thought you had something else going on. It'd be great to be invited, you know." But I had to realize, like, what am I communicating to people? You know, that's one. And then two, I sometimes play this game. It's not a healthy game to play. But I sometimes just stop calling people just to see how long we'll go to not talking before they actually reach out to me.
It's so scary though, dude. It's scary. It's years.
It's a crazy game. They're like, "Yeah, we hadn't talked in a long time." I was like, "Yeah, you're right." I was like, "Why don't you call me?" I was like, "Why don't you call me?"
That's like when you're dating somebody and you don't live together yet, and you're like, "I'm going to treat you with the silent treatment." And then how you are supposed to do is you're supposed to come up to me one day and be like, "Is anything going on?" And then I will release the hounds, but only then.
We'll not talk about it then, you know? And so like, yeah, so I've had some friends where I've had to be like, there's been different ways I've approached that, right? There's been one way of like, I had to confront them, right? And a positive, healthy confrontation, because confrontation is not bad, but it is helpful to kind of share your expectations. And like the same thing you did of like, "Hey, do you mind calling me?" Like I've noticed the pattern of like, I'm always calling you, and being able to talk about that. Right. So compassionately confront. Yeah. But I've had some other friends where I've just had to personally renegotiate expectations. Yeah. And realize like, hey, where they are right now, seasons have changed, bandwidth may have changed, and I may hear from them less, and I've had to grow okay with it. Mm-hmm. And so now instead of saying, "Hey, like I should be talking to you for this frequency," I'm now like, I don't expect to talk to you, and when I do, it's an added benefit and plus. But I had to do my own internal work, and it took me time to get there, to be able to process and get there. And and it's interesting what quarantine has done, right? You know, so some of the things I've seen is like, you know, there's been some relationships that have really grown stronger, and some people have been like, "Nah, you was never it." And so up to Chris Brown deuces, like
Mr.
we
right,
out this
you're not
Joe.
Mr. Right now, you're Mr.
Right.
Nah.
And it's been intriguing to see, like, you know, what that looks like and how that looks and what happens as we progress through this. What friendships are made stronger. Because people have time. But what other thing about a friend hit me up with what I thought was really dope. He was like, "Yo, like," he was like, "I'm not gonna be able to keep up this level of interaction because it's like people always expect me to be home now because they like, you ain't got nowhere else to go." Like, and then there's gonna be when things may open up, whatever that may be. He's like, there's gonna be a level of a disappointment moment for a lot of people because it's like they're not going to be able to have access like they did. They're not going to be able to call and get immediately to me. They're not going to be. And so it's going to be curious to see what what this whole journey of quarantining and COVID looks like. So
It'll be fascinating to see what patterns stick, right? I mean,
yeah,
like the idea of having a Zoom call with my entire family, that
yeah,
technology has existed for quite a long time,
yeah,
but we didn't use it until this, right? It's so
yeah,
interesting. And it's been really fun getting to, I mean, just the last night, I was on a Zoom call with a friend, some of my best friends who live in Columbus, Ohio,
yeah,
and my other couple friends that live in New York City. But one half of them was in Boca Raton, Florida, and we just like, hey, let's have a date, right? Like
yeah,
three couples, let's play some games. And if we wanted to do that in real life, I mean, that would have taken literally months, plane tickets, lodging,
yeah,
right? Like, and so I hope some of that stuff sticks. It'll be
yeah.
very interesting to see what happens for sure.
I'm curious to know for those who are tuning in live right now, just to put in the chat, what have been some of the things that have happened um, during this whole craziness that you want to continue doing, that you want to keep doing? That's really interesting for me. I know one of the things for me has been like these walks with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have this whole meaningful day framework, and that's on there for each of the days of what does a meaningful day look like for me. And, just walking with them or playing with them has been something that's been super dope for me. And just exploring and seeing, and I let them choose. Like I've learned to allow a different child to choose each time which way we go.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so they're learning about exploring, and I've seen parts of our neighborhood that I've never seen, just because
cool.
I've let them pick, and so that's one thing that, even as some things kind of get back to whatever that new normal is, I want to continue in those walks because those have been super dope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd love to hear some thoughts about that as well. I mean, Tina and I, we go on walks every single day, and we already talked about how we should continue to go on walks,
Mm-hmm.
and like that intentional time. It's actually one of the reasons why whenever we were both traveling a lot, there'd be a lot of weeks where we would see each other for 48 hours in a week, and that was about
Yeah.
it. And so it's like let's not cook dinner because the prep time, the eating time, and the cleaning time, like. I want to go to a restaurant. And just so I can just be there with you. Let somebody else
Yeah.
handle everything so I could be the most present with you. And that's what we would do to try to have some of that intentional time. And now that we're in quarantine, those walks have been so pivotal for us.
Yeah.
Because those are our moments of intentionality. And I hope that continues as well. Dan Fail has got a thought over here. Dan, what'd you say here? Hoping to keep weekly Zoom calls with friends, board games with my kids when I have them. Yeah, self-reflection. I love that, brother. Yeah, Dan and I talked last week about some of the powerful self-reflection that he's been going through, right? Trying to come up with different keynote ideas and what does it mean to be a speaker for him. I mean, I love how he posts every single week on his social media about how he wipes the floor with his daughter in Monopoly. I know she doesn't love that as much. But for the rest of us
Park
watching,
Place.
For the Park Place, bruh. Ventnor Avenue. Love the yellows. So, but yeah, for sure. Dan, this is a great one, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, Justin, I'm so glad that we got to talk for a while, brother. I want to thank you for coming on here and spending some time with us. And for those of you listening to the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast and for hearing it. As always, if you want to hear the Q&A, make sure that you tune in. Go ahead and go to my YouTube channel, and you can find the Q&A that Justin and I are going to do right after this. But thank you so much for listening on the podcast. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. Have a great day. So, Justin, here's what I'd love to do right now, man. I'd love to see if anybody who's on the call has any questions for you. If anybody's tuning in live, questions for you, questions for me. That could be maybe they're around what Justin was talking about with forgiveness or positive confrontation. It could also be around the way some of the intentionality that we're trying to take with Justin and his kids, Tina and I, or whatnot. I wonder if there's any questions that are out there that we can help you all out with right now, or that you're just curious about. Let's see if any come in here. What would you say? Have you and Stephanie I mean, it's so easy to become very kid focused right now, right? Like, I mean, we see all the memes and the blogs. So a lot of really cool blogs about. What was I going to say? As far as like how hard parenting is and like how teachers need more money and all that kind of stuff. That'll be interesting if teachers get a raise out of this. I'm not holding my breath, but they should. And so let's see how y'all vote for them tax bills. Anyway, but still, have you and Stephanie done anything that is intentional for the two of you away from the kids?
No, I mean, probably an area of growth. Like again, big part of this for like at least a 2-week time frame, like we really left her alone because she was trying to pass her comps. And so like, if things would have been normal, she would have been off in a hotel somewhere for 2 weeks working on these comps. Like that's how big the thing it's been. And so, our time, I've been like, all right, how do I really just invest in the kids right now and focusing on them? And we'll have, some conversations, later on in the evening, and we try to do a better job of just celebrating each other, even in the midst of all this, like she just had a 40th birthday. And so try to do a whole little surprise Zoom birthday party and all that kind of stuff for her. And so, we had a little bit of wine. So maybe, conversations over wine has been probably the thing that's been the most. But other than that, man, you're still figuring it out, man. There's so many opportunities for growth, but like in the midst of all this, like one thing that I've learned better in this time, and I think a lot of us struggle with this, is how do we give ourselves grace, right? How do we give ourselves grace without being complacent? And I realized like, we're going through a traumatic time. I can't treat this like everything's normal. Yeah. And so like, there's a lot of things that I should be doing. One of my friends, Marcy, is like, we got to stop shitting on ourselves. Yeah. And it's like just being present of the things that I am doing and focusing on the positive things that are happening versus all the things we could be doing. So right now that's been it. It's just, it's like letting her, my contribution is pushing her towards this focus on a PhD. Yeah. And doing all I can to alleviate. Oh yeah, doing all I can, because this is the home stretch. Like this is what she's not working outside the house, and she's fully focused on the PhD, and so giving her the focus to be able to do that, so that she doesn't have this anxiety that she's not doing what she's supposed to be doing. And so that's led to, I think for me, probably a healthier time with the kids. So like I think there's sometimes people can have different balances, and normally there's an imbalance of like there's much more focus on the kids than each other. But I think in times past we had more of that focus of each other and not as much the kids. Yeah, sure. At least for me, let me put it that way, for me. And so this has been a newfound kind of recorrection to me, just like, Lydia excited to cuddle with me at night, before we go to bed, and my 8-year-old daughter, she's like, Daddy, are we going to cuddle? And like today I was like, oh, I'm sweaty and I don't smell good and I have to take a shower. And she's like, oh, but I was like, well, I'll lay here for 60 seconds. And the smile, just 60 seconds, the smile that came on her face from like, oh, we're going to cuddle for 60 seconds. Yay, you made time to cuddle with me. That is super important. No, right? Yeah. And so yeah, for me, this time has been more of a correction, less of Stephanie and I, but more so with the kids.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love that, brother. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
Sure. We had a cool question come in. My brother's got a question. What is the essential Ghana dish? Is there anything that is specifically Ghanaian that is like, if you went to Ghana and didn't have this, did you even go to Ghana?
Yeah. So there's for those who don't know, like there's a whole war happening. I'm not talking about like real war, but there's a culture war of some African countries, not really, but of the Ghanaian dish of all time. It's the best. It's called jollof rice. Jollof rice. You need to have some jollof rice. Ghanaian jollof rice. So there's a big battle happening, and if you like go on YouTube, I just dare you to go on YouTube and type in jollof rice war or jollof rice battles.
Yeah.
There's a whole underground movement where like even some cities, Charlotte, it hasn't happened to Charlotte yet, but Atlanta, they have like the jollof rice competitions where like there's Ghanaian jollof rice, Nigerian jollof rice, Senegalese jollof rice. I don't even know why there's some other countries. I'm like, where did your jollof rice come from? But there's this whole thing of like who has the best jollof rice, and so you can't go to Ghana without getting jollof rice. And so
what is it? What is jollof rice?
You gotta have it. I can't explain it fully. I can't even cook it yet. I wish I could cook jollof rice. But it's a rice dish. That is, I don't know. It's the seasonings, the flavor. Some people throw some chicken in it. Some people like it's just so good, right? So that would be something I would check out if you have in your city like a West African restaurant that's still doing like local takeout. It really could be a really cool thing just to check out some jollof rice because it's super tasty. Another dish is fufu. And fufu is like a plantain potato-ish type of thing, where you dip it in stew. And I have been able to make that. And you make the stew and boil the stew, and stew generally has meat in it. For those who eat meat, you can do a vegetable stew and all that kind of stuff. But this is one of the things where it's like you're able to imprint it with your thumb and you scoop it in. And so the soup is kind of like within the little potato-ish, plantainish thing, and you eat it, but you don't chew it. You kind of slurp it.
Interesting.
And it's interesting, right? And one of the things that was super dope and from a Ghanaian culture perspective is that was a great dish that people used, fufu, and they did it as a shared dish. So sometimes, we used to do back in the day, which I need to bring back for some aspect of what I do. We used to do these fufu and conversations. So we'd bring together different like couples of people we didn't know, and I'd prepare fufu. It would be a dish most people hadn't had, and we'd have conversations just about life and what's going on. And one of the things is you share, so some people don't want to do, but they would, in the Ghanaian culture, they would actually share the fufu stew, and you'd have your own little potato, little kind of plantainish patty, because that meant, I'm going to eat out of the same bowl you eat out of, so you're not going to poison me. So it's really, that's how it became a shared dish where you like, boom, boom. Now, a lot of people don't do that today because they don't want to share, and during quarantine, #Corona. But that was one of the things, a great dish that people would do and use. So those are the two I would give you.
So with the potato plantain spoon, do you eventually eat that? Like at the end, do you then eat the spoon? Is it like fun dip, where like you don't eat the stick until the end of your fun dip?
So what really ends up happening is you end up it's like you eat it every time. Yeah. So you take a little piece off, you dip it in the stew, and then you eat it.
Well, there you go.
And so that's
he's in. Johnny's in.
Johnny's in.
My brother John is in.
Oh, tell John like for real like it's one of those dishes that is like you taste it, you're like, oh my gosh, like this is so good. I'm gonna show you an example. Let me see it here.
Oh, here we go. Uh-oh.
Yeah. So that's the you see, yeah. So that's the you go out.
I don't know if I can do this. Nope, I can't. I
don't
know what
there
I'm
you
doing.
go.
Go ahead. There you go.
That's okay. I'll move it over a little bit. So here you go. I love James and I love fufu. All right. So yeah. So this is like the patty. Yeah. And this is sometimes you have like chicken, oxtail, some aspect of meat. Yeah. For those who choose to, and this is like the sauce. And so this is a thing that's moldable, and you can just dip it, and you dip it and put it in the stew, and that's how you eat it, man. It's super dope. It's a authentic dish that I hated growing up. Yeah, like, I don't want to eat this, but now I really enjoy it. So
That's awesome, man. I love that. And most people don't know. Let me correct myself. Most white people don't know that a lot of the great Southern cuisine that we love comes out of places like Senegal and Ghana, and is a huge, heavily. I mean, it makes sense when you think of our crappy history, why that would be the case. But of course, those individuals are never given credit for it, because that's not the way this country works. But it's so interesting that there is. It's one of the reasons why I want to travel to that part of the country is to taste that cuisine and the roots of those dishes that I love now and long for every time I'm in the South.
Absolutely, man. I mean, even like this is just because I know somebody asked earlier. This is jollof rice, and so like this is like it's so tasty with a nice little sauce, and sometimes you have the plantain. And sometimes people will put some chicken on the side. But yeah, I can't wait till the time where we can go to Ghana again. And you can experience not only the history and the culture, but you can also experience the amazing, amazing food. So John, yes, hold your brother to that. Check out some West African restaurants when you travel or in your own area. Yeah.
And he lives in New York, so I mean, there's definitely
it's there.
Yeah. For sure. I love it. Well, Justin, this has been so special getting to hang out with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and having a diner talk with me. I always love our conversations, and I'm really excited that people got to learn from you today and just you made them think, and that's all we try to do, man. That's what I love about these conversations is that every time I have a cool conversation with a great individual, I come away with more thoughts than I brought in. And so I love it, man, because you got me thinking today too. That 80-20 thing is going to rack my brain. Tina's not even ready to have that conversation with me, but she gonna figure it out.
Yes, the 80-20 rule, man. It's been refreshing for me. I think the people in my top 20% have been grateful and appreciative, but it's no hard feelings for those who aren't in it. And that's what people have to learn. And that's okay. It's like, cause you're being positively selfish. And I love how you said that, man.
Yeah. I love it, brother. Thanks so much for coming on, dude. I really appreciate you, man. Thanks for joining us and kicking it. And I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you, brother.
Be good, brother. Friends, thank you so much for tuning in to the 4th episode of Diner Talks. We'll be back next week, next Wednesday, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, with another great episode for you. Again, if you are interested in helping me create this show, make sure that you go to my Facebook page and put in your ideas for what you want to be in the top three, so I can talk about them, shout you out on air, and continue to grow this. And if you liked this, my friends, please make sure that you are telling your friends that you enjoyed this show and have them come out. Let's watch it together. Let's do a watch party. I really appreciate you coming out today. And until then, please find some individuals to have some cool, dope conversations with, because in fact, the moment you don't think anything needs to change is often the moment that it does. So let's talk to each other, friends. Let's learn from each other and let us grow. Thank you for coming. You take care. Be well.